Hi, I'm Catherine Llewellyn, the host of the podcast. You can find out all about Truth and Transcendence on truthandtranscendence.com. And you can find out all about me on beingspace.world, where you will find my online coaching offering, as well as my UK-based workshops. The Freedom of Spirit workshop for liberation and empowerment, the Pellower Radical Shift in Consciousness workshop for spiritual expansion, and transformational coaching for exploring the mind-body-spirit connection on the expansive path. You can also support the podcast by actually making a donation. I hope you enjoy the show. Welcome to Truth and Transcendence. You can find all our other episodes on truthandtranscendence.com. So today I'd like to talk about our needs. There was a fantastic conversation on the recent Freedom of Spirit workshop where we were talking about needs, and we started off by talking about our emotional needs. There's a beautiful model that I picked up from Heron years ago about our emotional needs, and in this model, what's suggested is that we have 6 primary emotional needs, and these are to love and to be loved, to understand and to be understood, and to choose and to be chosen. And we explored the obvious fact that, most of us have one or other of those needs more fulfilled than the others, and others are not met. And for some of us, we don't even understand what some of those needs actually even mean. For example, the need to be chosen. This is essentially the need that we have to be wanted, picked, if you like, as who we actually are, not as who we should be. So, for example, let's say someone says to you, "I love you, you're amazing. Will you be my romantic partner? Will you be my love partner, my wife, my husband, my lover," whatever it might be. And you go, "Oh, great, I'm chosen. I feel chosen." If subsequent to that, you discover that what they really had in mind, whether consciously or unconsciously, was they wanted somebody to be an unpaid housekeeper, or they wanted someone just to have sex with, but without any intimacy, or they just wanted somebody they could take with them to see their friends so that their friends wouldn't think that they were lonely and unwanted and unloved, or they want someone who is just going to do what they're told, or they want someone who will just pay all the bills. You might suddenly feel then a bit less actually chosen as who you are, because what's happening then is you're actually being wanted for something which is not the whole of the authentic you. You're being wanted basically as someone to do a job, to perform a role. And in any job or any role that we might take on consciously and by choice, that's not the whole of us. It's never the whole of us. It's us participating in a particular way for a particular purpose, temporarily for a period of time. It's not our entire expression in our entire lives. So in that situation, we're not really being chosen. We're being either consciously or unconsciously asked or manipulated or expected to take on a role or a persona which is not an authentic representation of who we are. It may be a persona that we quite like, that we find that we're quite comfortable with, where we feel we're making a contribution, so we feel better about ourselves, but we're not really being chosen. Equally, we might find ourselves in a situation where we find it difficult to make our own choices, either because it's difficult for us to actually come up with what our choice is, or because we feel in some way restricted, possibly by the partner I just mentioned, or possibly for all sorts of other reasons, possibly internal resistance, internal low self-esteem, whatever it may be. So if we find it's difficult for us to make choices, or we feel restricted in making choices, our need to choose is not being met. And all of the other four as well, same applies. Do we feel understood, actually understood? And I think for many of us, we go through life very often not feeling understood. How do I know this? Because so many times I've had people say to me, whether it's after a conversation we've had together or a conversation they've had with somebody else or whatever it may be, where they've said, "Oh, I feel so understood by this other person or in the conversation they've had with me. I feel recognized. I feel valued. I feel understood. I feel seen. I feel heard." And very sadly, for many of us, that's a rare experience. That need is therefore not being met. And it's a genuine need. All of these needs are absolutely genuine. One of the difficulties with this, beyond the obvious difficulty that when the need's not being met, we're not getting the nourishment that we need. It's a bit like not getting some of what we need in our diet, our nutrition. There's a few minerals missing. There's a few vitamins missing. There's not enough good quality protein. There's not enough, stuff is missing and the body suffers. So when our needs are not being met emotionally, we suffer emotionally. And we then develop unhelpful patterns. If we don't then recognize this is what's going on and go and get it dealt with and actually addressed, we start falling into unhelpful patterns. One very common unhelpful pattern is to try to get one need met by getting another need met. So let's say you feel extremely loved. You're in a fortunate situation where you feel extremely loved by someone or several people in your life. You may pull on that love you get from those people and have an endless, if you like, demanding of it, keep asking for it, wanting more and more of it. Because on some level, you mistakenly believe, subconsciously, of course, that this will help you feel chosen, or this will help you feel understood. Which it won't, because love is love and understanding is understanding and choosing is choosing. They're different things. They often go together. And of course, that's ideal, that our life is full of relationships where we feel loved, where we feel we are able to love and that love is received. We feel understood. We are able to understand others and empathize with them. We feel chosen and we're able to make our own choices. That's the optimum scenario where all our needs are being met. But for many of us, that's rare. So have you ever, if you think about it, have you ever actually tried to get one need met by trying to ramp up getting the other need met? Something I've noticed for myself is mistaking the fulfillment of the need to be understood with the fulfillment of the need to be loved. So I've been in situations where someone's really listened to me and they seem to really understand me. They really get me. They really get a grip of exactly where I'm coming from. They resonate with my ideas and my perspectives. It's a wonderful feeling. I feel really understood. I've had moments in my life where I've misinterpreted that as love, where I've kind of assumed that that means that they love me, but it doesn't mean they love me. They may also love me, but it's not the same thing. So you may have examples in your life where there's a need that you have that isn't being met, but you're trying to get it met, unconsciously trying to get it met by one of the other needs. And how this can manifest is in aberrant behaviour, odd behaviour. So someone might ask you for something and you don't want to give it. It's not going to work for you to give it. And you say no. And they get really upset. And you're confused. Why did they get really upset that I didn't want them to, I don't know, sleep on my floor overnight? Or I didn't want them to unplug that lamp and plug in their charger, and we were sitting in the room in the darkness. Or why are they so upset about me saying no to this thing that they want? it's probably nothing to do with the thing that they said they wanted. It's probably because they have a different need that's not being met, and they're in a state of neediness and unfulfillment as a result. And so any time someone says no to them for anything they ask for, it's going to trigger this deep, sad, painful unfulfillment that they have going on at a deep level. And this is another way of understanding bad behavior, all sorts of what I might call bad behavior. People shouting at each other, people losing their temper with each other, people being really unreasonable, arguing, fighting, all of these things. Many of these things come from deep unfulfilled emotional needs, which have been misunderstood by the person themselves, and where they're not being addressed, and they're trying to get them fulfilled and met another way, which in a way which is never going to work. And actually, through the discussion that we had at the weekend, one person actually said, "Oh my God, I don't actually know what my needs are. I don't actually know what my needs are." And we all paused at that moment. We all went quiet at that moment. And we all realized that to some extent, we all have needs that we don't fully understand. And we have a need to understand what our own needs are. We have a need to understand that. And so it behooves us to actually inquire into that, look into that, and ask ourselves, what are my needs? Really, what are my needs? And if I'm trying to get them met, if I think I'm trying to get them met, if I think I'm doing everything I can to get them met, if it's not working, is it possible that I've misunderstood my own needs to some degree? And could I look into that? Could I clarify that for myself? So there you are, something to reflect on for the coming week. What are your needs? Are they being met? And if you're trying to get them met, and if it's working, great. And if not, why might that be? Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. I will see you next time. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. It really helps if you give a thumbs up, a 5-star rating, a review, and share with your friends. If you're looking for transformational coaching or an intensive transformational weekend workshop experience, I can help with that. You can actually help the show by making a donation. Until next time, take care.